This video is sponsored by Bootcamp.com. Check it out for INBDE prep and use coupon code MENTALDENTAL for 10% off. Hey everyone, Dr. Ryan here. First thing I want to say is if you've gotten an invitation for a dental school interview, congratulations. As we're about to enter interview season, I wanted to make this video teaching you how to crush those interviews. Now, I've been a part of more interviews than I can count, and I've been on both sides of the table getting interviewed and conducting the interviews myself. So in this video, I've compiled everything I've learned over the years, and I think it'll really help you out. And this will apply for dental school or residency interviews. These tips will help you regardless of what stage you're in. So let's talk about how to set yourself up for success when going on your interviews and to make the process a little less overwhelming and a lot more enjoyable. So here's our outline for the video. I'm going to talk first about things you can do before the interview happens to prep for it, then what you should do during the interview, and then afterwards, what are some nice things to do as well. All right, so first, before the interview, you want to do your research. So definitely look through the school's website ahead of time, learn about their average class size, their teaching style, extracurricular activities, those kinds of things. Now, sometimes a website will even flat out tell you what they're looking for in an ideal prospective student. Now, if you want bonus points, I would recommend even looking into what research is being conducted by some of the faculty members, and then bringing that up if you have an interview with that faculty member to ask more about how that project's going and future directions that they want to take their research in, which will really excite the interviewer. Sometimes a school will send you through email or mail some supplemental material about their program. Definitely don't skip the opportunity to spend the time to learn all you can about this place. Besides, if you really want to go somewhere, you'll want to learn all you can about it. So definitely spend the time and do your research. Practice the drive. Now, this is the same advice I give for taking a standardized test. But if it's possible, practicing the drive to and from the school takes so much stress away from the interview day. If you can't do that, that's okay, but at least look at the trek on Google Maps. Even if you're using an Uber, a Lyft, or riding a bus, you can find out timing and traffic, how parking and drop-off is. You know where the building is, where the entrance is, maybe even where the exact meeting room is if you can walk around inside. If you get all of these steps figured out ahead of time, you will not regret it. It will take so much stress off of that day. If you're traveling to the dental school away from home, try to pick a hotel or Airbnb as close to the school as possible to make your travel easier. And remember that every school should have some room that you can store your luggage in, so don't worry about traveling with that. Although, try to pack as lightly as you can so you don't have to bring too many bags with you. Arrive early to the school. I'd recommend getting there at least 30 minutes before the interview start time, if not earlier than that. And this serves a couple of purposes. Number one, it gives you time to relax, so you're not rushing there. You have leeway if you hit traffic, and you don't have to worry about being late. The last thing we need is more stress and anxiety. It's already stressful enough, so we might as well do everything we can to make it more relaxed. And number two, it gives you an opportunity to meet people before it gets too hectic. I was usually the first person to an interview and could say hello, get comfortable, and make an impression before the crowd of other applicants got there. Now, it's not the end of the world if you're running behind, but arriving early definitely shows that you care. All right, this next one might seem impossible because it's very hard to sleep the night before an interview, no matter what you try. So, my advice is at least try to get good sleep on the days leading up to the interview and practice good nighttime routines for at least a week beforehand. So you want to get to bed earlier, don't spend hours on your phone before bed, don't be drinking something caffeinated right before you go to sleep. Do things that are relaxing instead of stimulating and practice that ahead of time. Okay, so next, let's talk about some general etiquette rules for the actual interview day. So keep in mind that every person you interact with, from the moment you step foot on that campus to the moment you leave, is interviewing you. Not just the faculty who you sit down with, but the students, the administrative staff, the cleaning staff. Everyone could potentially impact your acceptance. Now, I don't say that to stress you out. I say that to put your expectations in check. You need to maintain good manners throughout the whole day. You never know who's watching. Be kind and friendly to everyone, including the other interview applicants. You never know, that person you sit next to on an interview could become your classmate. It's exhausting, especially for an introverted personality, but you can relax and recharge once it's all over. So say your please and thank yous, hold the door open for a fellow applicant. If it's raining outside, share your umbrella with someone who doesn't have one. It speaks volumes about the kind of team player you'll be as a dental student or resident, which is probably the number one thing interviewers are looking for. Even if you're vibing with the students and applicants you're with, don't use crude language or joke around too much. You want to be friendly, but you also want to stay professional. Some students or residents might say they won't tell anyone what you tell them, but never believe that. Remember, everyone is interviewing you. Next, don't be texting on your phone. That's a big no-no and will make it seem like you're disinterested. And if you want to check the time throughout the day, wear a watch instead of using your phone. For dental school or residency interviews, you never want to talk with other applicants, students, or residents about what schools are your top or bottom choices. It's best to keep that information to yourself. Now, we'll talk more about this later when we get to answering actual interview questions, and then my advice to you will be slightly different. When it comes time for the lunch, or the question and answer session, or any event where participation is involved, get ready. You don't want to be completely silent, which makes it seem like, again, you're disinterested, but at the same time, you don't want to hog the spotlight and ask a million questions. That makes it seem like you're not a team player. You want to strike a good balance between these two extremes. All right, I promise I'm trying not to be controversial with this next tip, but there are some rules I think are important to follow for what you wear to an interview. The bottom line here is we don't want to dress to impress. We don't want to dress to express ourselves. We want to dress for success. For men, this is a dark suit with a light button-down shirt and absolutely a tie. Facial hair is fine as long as it's well kept. Hey, I love my beard, but I would probably trim it back a bit for an interview. Why? Because keep in mind that older faculty members are usually the ones making most of the decisions. And so you want to be professional according to their principles, whether or not you agree with them. For women, this would be a pantsuit or skirt suit with a button-down shirt or shell top underneath, and absolutely closed-toed shoes. Heels are great, but there can be a lot of walking, so flats are perfectly acceptable. Definitely don't wear sandals, though, and I wouldn't recommend any unnatural hair colors. For both men and women, if you have any specific clothing requirements for a religious or cultural reason, absolutely wear what you need to wear. At the end of the day, to summarize this slide, your attire is not what you want to be remembered for. Blend into the crowd with what you wear and stand out in other ways. The actual interviews. So I could have a whole video just on this topic alone, but I'm going to share the most important stuff right here. Interviewing is an art. Some are naturally talented with it, others not so much. But it can be practiced, it can be improved, and it can be perfected. The key to being a good interviewee is to make the interview a conversation. The person or people across the desk from you are people too. And guess what? Deep down, they're probably nervous too. They're probably tired too. Your job is to make them feel comfortable. And remember, if you got an interview, they already like you. You're already qualified. Now they just want to see if you'd be a good fit for their program. So don't memorize and recite your answers like a robot. Just be you because they already like you. The main takeaways you want them to have from this interview is that you're friendly, professional, confident yet humble, seem genuinely interested in their school, and ask good questions. Speaking of which, always have questions ready to ask them. And even if every question on your list has been answered already, just ask them anyway. Remember from before, if you've read up about their research interests as part of your preparation, you can ask them about that. Or anything else you found out from a current dental student, like if they're passionate about a certain hobby, or if that certain interviewer loves traveling or something like that. You can ask about their interests. Generally, good questions to ask are about day-to-day schedule, patient experiences, volunteer opportunities, thoughtful and insightful questions that highlight the school's strengths. Bad questions to ask are things that would paint the school in a bad light. Now, it's okay to ask, what would you change about your program? But I would not ask things like, what's your least favorite part of this program? Or is it competitive here? Or do you get a lot of time off here? And please don't participate in drama. Saying something like, I heard the program director was leaving soon, is not a good idea and is just in poor taste. Okay, now for some potentially controversial things that I did during my interviews, and you can take these or leave them. I recommend bringing a portfolio folder that has a list of your questions so you don't forget them, any big points that you want to share with the interviewers, and maybe even some photos of you in action. My orthodontic residency loved doing costume contests during Halloween. That was a big part of the culture there. And so I brought photos of me and my crazy costumes from the past. And I also showed pictures of me volunteering with friends at a free dental clinic and stuff like that, that showed some of the things that I was involved in, some of the examples where I was a team player. You want to show them that you're a person with personality, not just a robot with a good GPA. If your school is your top choice and the interview is going well, you can straight up tell them that you're ranking their school number one. But generally, I would be careful who you say that to. Again, as we said before, definitely don't share that with other applicants. Also, if you like a school but it's not your top choice, you can say, I definitely want to go to this school, as long as you're being honest about that statement. But back that up with evidence of why you want to go to that school or why you're ranking that school number one, which we'll cover in the next slide on answering specific interview questions. And like I said before, interviews are an art. I think mock interviews either with your pre-dental club or an advisor or a professional are so valuable. And ask for honest feedback so that you can improve. If you're up for it, maybe even record yourself. Look at your posture, your body language, and eye contact, and make sure you're communicating with a positive demeanor throughout. All right, so let's cover some specific questions that you'll likely get. First one, tell me about yourself. This is almost always the first question. Get good at talking about yourself in 1 to 2 minutes tops. And my take is stay away from dentistry with this answer. This is not the place to talk about how you wanted to become a dentist and what you did for volunteering and who you shadowed. This is an opportunity to get them to know you as a person, not a future dentist. Talk about your family, your hobbies, things you like, that sort of thing. Now, the next question is, why do you want to become a dentist? This is an extremely common question for a residency. They might ask, why do you want to become an orthodontist or an endodontist? For this one, you want to give a specific, engaging, personal story about how you became fond of the profession. This is your time to talk about your connection to dentistry. Why do you want to attend our school? Another common one that you can prepare for. This is where your research about the school will really come in handy. Pick 2 to 3 things that program seems particularly fond of and talk about how great they sound, like a practice management course that you're really excited about, or a volunteering opportunity unique to that school that you'd really love to participate in. That would really reflect well on you. What is your biggest weakness? Here's another one you want to have an answer prepared for. The trick is you don't want to say something really bad about yourself, but you don't want to give a cop-out answer like, I'm a perfectionist, or I just care too much. Interviewers will see right through that. Instead, say an honest flaw like being hard on yourself when you fail, or being a little impatient, and then talk about how you're improving on it and working on it. That'll make you seem like a much more relatable person. Also, know your application like the back of your hand. So if they ask you to expound on something in your application, you know what to talk about. If you were president of this club, you better have some stories you can share about it. Or if you volunteered at a free clinic, you better be able to talk about specific things you did and learned from that experience. Pay attention on the tour. So every school does a tour through their facilities at some point during the interview day. Some tour guides try to make it fun, and others not so much. But either way, pay attention during it. Try to visualize yourself being at this place for 4 years, for 3 years, however long the program is. And the most important part of the tour will be the clinic. This is the place where you'll see your first patients and you'll eventually, hopefully, spend most of your time. It's even better if you get to see students in action on your tour. Pay attention if there are a lot of assistants available or if students look confused and panicked. It doesn't need to be a brand new clinic with all the latest gadgets, just a functional one where you can learn from. Also, pay attention to the preclinical simulation labs and the lecture halls because you'll be spending a lot of time there too, especially at the beginning. All right, now let's go over what to do after the day is done. The first step is to remember your interviewers' names so you can write them each a thank you card. Their names should be provided on a handout in the folder that you're given on interview day, but if not, write them down immediately after coming out of each interview room so you don't forget them later. I think it's also a good idea to at least write an email thanking the office manager or secretary who coordinated the interview day. You'll already have that contact info because they're the ones sending you all the notifications leading up to the interview day. I think it's a nice touch. If you really connected with a certain dental student or resident, grab their email or phone number during the interview day and shoot them a message after the interview thanking them. They may even relay that to others in the department. You want to send all these messages ideally within 1 to 2 weeks of your interview. Now, does this improve your chances of getting in? Probably not, but it is a nice thing to do and it certainly won't hurt. The day is stressful for interviewees, but it's also stressful for the interviewers. So thanking them for their time is appreciated. And my last bit of advice is to write it all down. Especially if you're doing multiple interviews at different schools, write down your experiences as soon as possible after the day is over. I know you'll be tired and exhausted after it's over and just feel like sleeping, but do spend at least a few minutes writing down what you liked and what you didn't like about the school before you go to sleep. Some things you want to write about that I did include the quality, friendliness of the current students or residents. Is it a relaxed and fun or a competitive and stressful atmosphere? Something people often forget about is the quality and friendliness of the applicants because they're going to make up part of your class if you end up going there. The quality of the faculty, the clinic space, the living area, climate, urban versus rural, distance from family, and of course, tuition cost. Remember, you're interviewing them as much as they're interviewing you. Dental school is already challenging, so you want to enjoy your time there as much as you're able to. Also, keep in mind that with everything in life, things are subject to change. Faculty members change, department heads leave, classes graduate, curriculums change, technology gets updated. So don't put your eggs all in one basket or in one of these categories. For instance, if there's one faculty member who you absolutely loved, but everything else about the school you hated, that faculty might leave down the road. So it's better to take a holistic, big picture view and consider all the categories when making your decision. So here are some additional resources that I recommend to you for interviewing. Ron Fry has this book that's probably the best I've read for interviewing. It's designed for job interviews, so not everything is relevant, but I think there's a lot of great stuff in there. So I'll leave an Amazon link in the description for you if you're interested in that. There's also a free PDF from Ken Coleman called How to Win the Interview that you can get on Dave Ramsey's website, so I'll leave a link for that in the description as well. So that's all I have for this video, guys. I hope you found it helpful. I know it's a lot of information here, but my hope is that this advice just eases the stress, that you have a better idea how to prepare and how to carry yourself during the interview so you're confident. Because remember, at the end of the day, they extended an interview to you. They already like you on paper. Now they just want to meet you and see if you're a good fit for their program. So just go out there, be confident in who you are, and be the best self that you can be. That's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Please like this video if you enjoyed it and subscribe to this channel for much more on dentistry. If you'd like to support me, please check out my Patreon page. And thank you to all of my patrons for their support. You can unlock access to my video slides to take notes on and practice questions for the board exams. So go check that out. The link is in the description. Thanks again for watching, everyone. I'll see you in the next video.